Hello, this is Strategy Miscellany. We are back with Terra Invicta, and a lot happened last turn. I'm still kind of trying to figure out, or last episode, I mean, still trying to figure out the best way to progress here. Because the alien administration was extremely powerful. It controlled India, China, Bangladesh, Japan. It controlled countries all over the world: Turkey, Poland, the Gulf states. It controlled all of Central America. It controlled Mexico. And then they went too far with their conquests. And one fine day, the whole alien administration blew up in revolt. The humans overthrew the aliens, and the whole place collapsed. And this actually happened a couple turns in a row. And now there's kind of a rump alien administration, which has 38 million people. But the aliens still have 11 armies on the ground, all of which are their elite armies. And the aliens have 5 nuclear weapons under their control. And a lot of the world was kind of thrown into chaos in this. All the sort of post-revolt states are not particularly strong or stable right now. And there's a real kind of scramble, like at the beginning of the game almost, for the powers to take back places in the world. So here is my thinking. The first step is to get myself back into India and Bangladesh here. My old power base, get it back, lock it down, have a place to start from again. Second step, while the resistance is distracted, detain their counselors, assassinate their counselors, turn their counselors, weaken them enough that I can crack into the US. If I can take the US, which has 10 armies at high technology levels, if that can be broken away from them, that's like the last major military power in the world, pretty much. Except for, to some extent, the EU. They have 5 armies. That's actually nothing to sneeze at. You know, it might be easier to crack the EU first. I might actually do that first. Go after the initiative, crack the EU. And then after doing that, we'll try and crack into the US. But yeah, if I have the US, EU, Eurasia, India, and if I can sneak into China too, then I mean, I've basically got the world under my control at that point. And what I got to do this time is be more careful. I've got to get everything ready and then feed the aliens a bunch of territory that has been prepared for them. Because if the aliens go around conquering, and once they get powerful enough, they just go on a conquering spree, the problem is they can't actually control the territories. The whole thing falls apart, even if you put all your counselors on stabilize. So I trusted the aliens too much to do things themselves. That was a mistake. I've got to be the servant who also kind of teaches the aliens how best to operate in this complex world of ours. Space economy wise, I did some kind of auditing and rebalancing. I've got some more mission control being built because we're way over our cap. Once I take India and Bangladesh, that will give me some. India has 7, Bangladesh has 3. They definitely don't have as much as they used to. But if I can crack into some of these places, and the good news is I think a lot of factions will be kind of distracted taking over, Mexico, taking over Central America, trying to break into China. And so if I can crack into the right places at the right times, I think I can make this work. Right now, I'm trying to put pretty much everybody on locking down India. I will get back to you in January or when something dramatic happens, and we'll see how this goes. So, it is January. I have taken over India. I took over China, but I'm actually going to give it to the aliens to see if I can give them some sort of power base that they can actually stick with. Because they seem to be just in an endless cycle of revolution and collapse. And maybe if I give them a strong region to stabilize in that's already used to being under a dictatorship and is massively pro alien, maybe this will actually work. That's my hope. So I'm going to give China to the aliens. And meanwhile, I'm working on taking the European Union away from the initiative. European Union has a bunch of armies. It should be able to basically expand militarily by invading places around it that it has claims on. And so that's my plan there, is to basically push into places like Catalonia, West Germany, Italy, and expand the EU that way. Once the EU is no longer warring with the aliens. So I'm putting a lot of effort into increasing my popular support and increasing unrest so I can stage a coup in the European Union. I am researching this project, End of America, that will produce a bunch of regional separatists in the US, and then I can go and increase unrest there and hopefully have the country start to break itself up. That's the hope, anyway. But that's the next step after we take the EU. In space, we're building a bunch of stuff. Right now, we're losing money, but hopefully when our space economy finishes building some more nanofactories and things, we'll catch up on that a little bit. That's my hope, anyway. It is April, and the European Union has been flinging its nuclear weapons around like nobody's business. They've been nuking themselves in France to destroy alien armies. Looks like they've finally blown up all the alien armies there. And then they're attacking the aliens also in Ukraine, which is apparently the non-alien controlled part of Ukraine as part of the EU. And so you would think this would be increasing unrest in the country, that there's, nuclear explosions going off all the time. Also, for some reason, the EU is at war with the US. I'm not quite sure why. We'll see what happens there. The alien administration is growing quickly and holding together by a thread. I've been spending some energy on stabilizing them, which is maybe stupid. I should maybe just let them fail, build up my own power base until I can give my power base to them, and then go from there. That may actually be the more clever thing to do. But what I have been doing instead is trying to build up the alien administration. I've been trying to also stabilize my different territories that I control. It looks like India maybe needs a little bit in the unity priority to help stabilize the place a little bit. And, oh, it has a nuclear barrage. That's enough. I just want to have sort of a deterrent. So I'll get out of the nuclear weapons building program for now. I do want them to have at least one army for sure, though. Malaysia, I would also very much like to have an army. They're pretty close to getting one. But yeah, the world is a mess. The aliens were coming really close to conquering the EU until the EU basically nuked itself multiple times to stave off alien conquest. Yeah, the global temperature anomaly is basically almost back to pre-industrial levels because so many nuclear weapons have gone off. So that's interesting. We're basically back to the temperature level of maybe, I don't know, 1930 or something. And global per capita GDP has gone down quite a bit with all this endless warfare. But hopefully we can bring peace before too long. That's the hope, right? Is we're going to take the EU from its cruel masters who are wantonly throwing nuclear weapons about. Then we're going to break up the US and we're going to take over the pieces. And then, when the time is right, we're going to give the Indian subcontinent and some other places to the aliens and get them to the level they need to be at. So that's the plan. I'll report back in July about how it's going.
Ready to go.
So it's the end of July, beginning of August. Um, the more kind of wild swings back and forth happened. The European Union was conquered by the aliens, immediately revolted back, but that has left it uncontrolled and in a state of chaos. The multiple nuclear attacks on invading armies in it didn't really help either. So the EU is basically taken out of the game for now. I have got China because it's got enough popular support that the people there just did a coup for me, basically. I've got India, which is slowly going to attempt to federate with Bangladesh and Assam and then unify this whole area. China's going to try and do the same thing with East Turkestan and Tibet to reassemble China. Eurasian Union is going to try and eat these old Soviet states. So that's the plan there. And then the second part of the plan is I am running popularity campaigns in the US, and I've been planting xenoforming around the US. I've been putting alien life forms around in different places too. I think that makes the rest of my missions easier. Eventually, it might make a big angry megafauna start running amok, and it hurts their economy. And in general, it's just good for the servant's cause to have a bunch of weird xenofauna running around. So that's the idea there. The alien administration has blown up so many times that I'm not even sure if it exists right now. My plan is basically I'm going to have to win this game myself because the aliens do not understand how to run a country. But if I can get the US on my side, I think it's basically the last sort of stable major power left out there that I don't control already. Everywhere else is either too small, some combination of too small, too poor, or too chaotic because of being conquered by aliens and then revolting against them. So basically, that's the plan. We take the we secure our control of China, India, Eurasian Federation. We hopefully do a little bit of expansion in that region. We get the US. When the time is right, we turn over a bunch of territories to the aliens in a couple months and we win the game. That's the plan. So it's the end of October, beginning of November. State of the world is a lot like it was last time, very chaotic. Um, I've been seeding xenoforming through the US and a little bit in Canada. Um, Increasing unrest a little bit, though not enough to really mess with their cohesion or anything yet at this point, it looks like. But bit by bit, we'll get there. Stabilizing in my own regions, of course. In 71 days, I'll be able to absorb Uzbekistan into the Eurasian Union. I should try and coup the academy out of Kyrgyzstan so I can do the same thing there. That might be the next thing I try, actually.
Reporting in.
Um, I staged a coup in Pakistan. The resistance staged a counter coup. There's been a lot of back and forth. The good news is Pakistan has been failing to invade Tibet because, if you don't know, it's really mountainous there and difficult to invade. So hopefully I can reabsorb these former pieces of China into China. Yeah, it looks like I can form federation with both of them here, which would be the first step. So I should do that.
Ready to go.
I should probably be more aggressive with just like doing conquests with nations, but
Heading to the
I've
capital.
mostly been trying to unify places diplomatically. I've seen in other playthroughs where people have been very effective with going around and causing trouble for other nations, basically, by doing military coups and such. But my idea is if I can get unrest in the US up, I can cause secession movements to develop there,
Acknowledge.
which would be very useful for us. I decided to wait 6 months this time before providing an update. I think I'm going to continue that in the future because things are going a little bit slower now, I'd say. It's a bit more of a long slog at this point, and also you're more familiar with how this all works. But a lot has happened. I was able to take over Pakistan with some alien assistance, as you might expect. India unified with Assam. The Eurasian Union absorbed Uzbekistan. Now the Eurasian Union is less peacefully absorbing Finland and also Georgia. The Baltics are allied with the US, so I need to stage a coup there and get rid of that alliance before I can take them out. But basically, what I'm thinking is if I can grow multiple superstates, um, India can eventually absorb Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, probably Baluchistan. China can absorb these, and if I do some more projects, I could absorb a lot more stuff around it. If I can give the aliens a few superstates in quick succession to get them over their control point or their population victory condition, that should be a lot easier than having to keep them together over the long term. My other plan for keeping together the alien administration at the critical point is to save up a bunch of money and use it to do big direct investments in their unity priority at the proper moment. So I figure with both of those, I should be able to keep them together at the crisis point when the time is right. The US, I've steadily had my two best counselors at it increasing unrest. And unrest is not high in the US. It's 2.4 out of 10. But that is enough that damages their investment points somewhat. And enough that it results in the resistance having to basically constantly work on keeping unrest down in the US. Once I can get a few more counselors with better command skills, I think I'll be able to hit the tipping point, bring that unrest high enough we start seeing secessionist movements and the general collapse of the resistance's power base. Which really is the last power base. I mean, there's the Korean Peninsula that they took from me, and there's two armies there. So that's something. Vietnam has two armies. Not a great tech level. Um, I guess there's Australia. I should probably do something about Australia at some point. But really, I mean, the power bases of the world were beat up pretty thoroughly by that period of alien invasion. And so The humanity's in a crisis, and it's time for the aliens to save us from ourselves. Looking here at the other faction's resources, I mean, I've got to say they're all doing okay. A lot of the time, the AI will bankrupt itself or do something else pretty stupid. This time, they're not really doing that. I mean, I'm way ahead on control points and research and mission control, but they're at least holding their own, which is kind of better than I would expect, honestly. In space, I had a shortage of volatiles for a while, but I've got a mine on Deimos going that has basically solved my volatiles issue. And I do have some plans to build a better generation of ships in a little bit. I want to wait until I get slightly better reactors or drives or something like that. But after that, it would be nice to have a new generation of ships that could actually do, say, bombardments from space, that sort of thing. And hopefully maybe even start, flying out to the asteroids and attacking some of the other factions' mining bases out there that I haven't really touched yet. I basically kicked everyone off the moon. I've done to some extent that to Mars, though I want to do more. But yeah, making sure nobody else has a proper space economy would be helpful for the cause. In Finland here, we're just barely going to take it over before our army falls apart, it looks like. It's going to be a close run thing. But I think we can do it. In Georgia, that's why I'm sending two armies, basically, was because I was worried about the same thing happening. I mean, the Eurasian Union's technology is not bad. It's 4.4, but it's just not good enough to take over these rugged countries instantly. China will be doing diplomatic unifications with East Turkestan and Tibet in July. India will be unifying with Bangladesh in, I believe, in July. Let me take a look here. Oh, India doesn't have a claim on the Bangladesh capital region yet. So we'll need to get Greater India first, which is going to take a little while. Oh, this should also help us hold the alien administration together. This counterinsurgency operations gives us bonuses to stabilization. There's other techs we're working on that are going to give us bonuses to destabilization, which is also important. So, in the middle of the last recording session, the game crashed in mid-August, so I had to come back to an autosave on August 1st, and I did sort of an audit of a couple things, reorganized a couple things, but basically the storyline has been the same as before. There is sort of a funny bit here where I declared war on the Baltic states as the Eurasian Union was not able to beat their sort of internal defenses. And now the U.S. is coming in because before I declared war on them, I cooed them with the servants. And so the resistance U.S. says, oh, well, controlled by the servants. But I kind of think what's going to happen here is that, because it happened last time before the crash, is that the U.S. is going to inadvertently hand the Baltic states over to the Eurasian Union. So we'll see what happens there. And once I have the tech for it, I want to build another wave of spacecraft to dominate space, but I need to get a few more researches done before that. And right now I'm pretty focused on Earth-based stuff. I've got Greater India, I've got government network analysis, which will make it easier to coup places. I've got freedom fighters, which makes it more likely for places with independence movements to break away when you increase unrest. So we'll see how this goes, and I'll report back in October, or when something really dramatic happens. actually, this is a good time to close out this particular episode. I think this covers like 2 years of game time. And so I think it's good to end this episode here. And we will start a new episode and get back to you with further information on the liberation of Earth by our alien masters. So, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.